Welcome back, my friends, to r/entitled people. What better way to spend this beautiful day than to enjoy some stories of entitlement? We've got 4 today. In the first one, an entitled couple boarding a plane tries to cause some trouble for some kids. The second one is about a Karen almost killing OP's bird. The third one is about an entitled employee that thinks the world owes him something just for existing. And the last one is about OP's brother stealing their car. So let's jump into these, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more daily Reddit stories. This one's called Double-Booked Seats with an entitled couple on a 12-hour flight. This happened back when I was a kid, but there are stories here that reminded me of this. We were on a flight from Miami to Bolivia as a family of 5 with 3 kids under 12. We're getting on the flight, sat down, when entitled woman and husband come up to my row. I'm sitting in the same row with my brother and sister. Entitled woman says, "Excuse us, you're in our seats." My brother, sister, and I have all been well versed in child travel by this time, so we pulled out our individual boarding passes and showed her that we're also assigned these seats. Entitled husband says, "No, you're wrong. Let me see those." We don't give them over. My dad comes over to see why strangers are talking to his children and says, "Excuse me, why are you talking to my kids?" "They're in our seats. Look," says the entitled husband. My dad replies, "That's their assigned seat. They know how to read a boarding pass." By this time, we have attracted the attention of the flight attendant, who confirms that indeed, those seats have been double booked. Entitled woman and husband are irate, demanding their assigned seats. The flight attendant leaves to go see what I can do for you, quote unquote. This whole time, entitled woman is making a big show of trying to store her bag in front of ours in the overhead bins, and complaining loudly. The flight attendant returns and says, "Thank you so much for your patience. It was double booked, but it looks like we have enough seats in first class available for your party. If you could please follow me." Entitled woman and husband sigh, relieved that finally someone will see reason. Entitled woman gathers her bag as the husband steps forward. Flight attendant holds up her hand and says, "No sir, not you. If you 3, looking at me, my brother and sister, will please join us up in first class, we'll make sure you're taken care of." The lemon-sucking look on the entitled woman's face as we politely grabbed our bags and moved to the coziest laps of luxury our young selves had the fortune of lucking out on. I remember the meal making me have a headache, but the reclining seats, warm blankets, and sleep masks sure help with all that suffering. That entitled couple was so let down to realize that they don't get rewarded for being nasty. That's just not how the world works. And this one's titled, Bad Neighbor Almost Kills $20,000 Pet Bird. For a little background, I have a hyacinth macaw, the biggest parrot in the world, also known as blue macaw. My neighbor hates that I have the bird and constantly tells us it's not fair that I have the bird. She believes it should be released back into the wild, despite the fact that it was born in captivity and would not know how to survive in the wild. She can be annoying about it, but she has never given me any reason to worry about her. So one day, my boyfriend wanted to do a barbecue and we invited a lot of neighbors. Since she lives right next to us, we decided it would only be fair to invite her too. So the main people are me, my boyfriend, and my entitled neighbor. So when people started arriving, I moved Aragon, the bird, to the other room and shut the door. When entitled neighbor showed up, she immediately asked to see the bird and said she brought it proper bird food. She brought a bag of sunflower seed mix. Sunflower seeds are bad for birds, really fatty. I told her that I can't accept that because this kind of bird eats fruit, vegetables, and nuts, and I can't give her that. She immediately got offended and said I was being ungrateful and I was going to kill my bird if I wasn't careful. I ignored her and just focused on the barbecue. She stopped talking about the bird for a while. Then later in the afternoon, I noticed she was missing for like 20 minutes. So I looked for her and I found her in the room with my bird and asked her what she was doing. To my horror, she had opened the window and was pushing my bird out the window. I was honestly surprised that she didn't get bit. I screamed at her to stop and ran over to her, so she decided to grab my bird with both hands, and that is when she did get bit. And if you have ever seen a macaw, they can take a finger off if they want. My bird dug her beak so deep into her hand, I actually heard a crunch. Her response was to hit my bird. The bird fell to the ground unconscious, and I honestly thought she was dead. I was too angry to trust when she was hunkered over holding her hand, so I punched her in the face. Then my boyfriend entered and asked what happened. I told him to get her and everyone else out. I grabbed my bird, who had woken up and was literally screaming. I put her in her carrier and got the worst bite from that bird I had ever gotten. I then took her to the vet. She ended up having a concussion and a broken wing because of how hard she hit the ground. She will never fly again. The neighbor said she is going to sue me for the damage done to her hand, but I'm countersuing her for the expensive vet bill along with the compensation for now having a handicapped pet that I have to take care of. I also had to get 10 stitches in my hand, and my bird also broke her hand. Also, my boyfriend is a lawyer, so he's obviously helping me for free. My bird is 20 years old, and she has been in my family since I was 10, so this was extremely stressful to deal with. Sorry if the story isn't very detailed or has bad grammar, I have never written one of these before. And then OP adds a couple details and says, this type of bird can be a pet as long as it's born in captivity. Mine was born in captivity, so it's completely legal to have. Also, I do not recommend them as pets as they are wild animals. I have mine because my parents bought her when I was young, and now she's in my care. So there really is nothing of importance I can say about the case. We're still waiting to hear about a court date. However, my bird is slowly starting to act like herself again. She's playing with her toys and screaming for attention like normal. She is a bit more nippy than she is normally, but mentally she is recovering faster than I thought. I really thought she was going to be traumatized for a while. She had a harder time adjusting when we moved houses, so I don't know. Mentally, she seems to be getting better. Her injuries, though, I won't know anything for a while. Man, that is enraging to hear. I feel so bad for that bird. Especially because OP said that its wing is injured and it'll never fly again now, too. And those hyacinth macaws are incredibly beautiful creatures as well. What kind of twisted mind does this person have to think that they would be saving this bird by pushing her out the window? If it's lived its life in captivity, then it's not going to survive out in the wild. I thought that was pretty common knowledge. What a terrible person. This one's called Entitled Employee Gets a Hard Lesson About Being an Adult. I've been a retail manager for a drugstore chain for over a decade. I've had a wide spectrum of employees, but this employee, we'll call him Ken, was the worst of them all. At the end of the night, the employees share responsibilities on cleaning, sweeping, and organizing the store. Ken constantly gave a response that he didn't sign up to be a janitor. He refused to do anything else beyond cashiering, and there were times he lacked in that as well. Ken was constantly calling off and ditching work. After we gave him a written warning and him not showing up became excessive, we cut his hours. When he continued to ditch, his hours were cut to the bare minimum. Shortly after, Ken started to whine for a raise, specifically an increase of $10 per hour. Me being a shift manager, I do not make $10 more per hour than Ken. He started to complain that he wasn't paid enough, so he couldn't pay his rent. Adding on that, we would all have to answer for it. I reminded him that the company was paying commission on a luxury skincare line, $5 commission per product. Sell 2 an hour, you got your $10 raise. He whined that it was too much work. A customer who was the manager of a movie theater offered him a part-time job. He was fired a week later for bad attendance, 2 no-shows and 3 tardies. I told him that the local car dealership was hiring. They were paying the same we paid per hour plus commission. Ken scoffed and said that he didn't want a sales job. I told him that the local Red Lobster was hiring. Ken scoffed again and said serving was too much work. Ken constantly complained that we only criticized him and never praised him. I told him praise is earned, not given. I believe somewhere in Ken's mind he was doing a great job and was irreplaceable. Quite often, Ken said he was going to play in the NFL and be extremely wealthy someday. He also said that his parents kicked him out of their house and made him get a job, ruining his dreams. At this time, I had several employees who had just graduated high school, this being their first job. Ken was 28 years old, only a year younger than me. This is the type of behavior I was expecting from teen employees, not someone in his late 20s. I think it's safe to say Ken wanted to get paid a lot for doing nothing and didn't realize he's an adult. So one day, another manager and I had to bring Ken back into the office to talk to him about his whining and an incident. Ken tried to get out of us if he was going to get fired. We told him the store manager was going to decide. When we wouldn't give a straight answer, Ken said he quit and left his name badge behind. He continued walking out the door scoffing, saying how this place sucks, he's out of here for good, and that we were going to be sorry. That manager and I both wrote affidavits saying what happened. I had all the other on-duty employees write affidavits describing what Ken said. Ken came back the next day to collect his paycheck. He left saying we would all pay for what we did to him, and that we'd all be sorry. I think in Ken's mind, he thought he was a star employee. A few weeks later, we get a notification that Ken had filed for unemployment. Thanks to all our affidavits and some video footage, it was proof enough that Ken quit on his own accord, meaning no unemployment. Some of you might be asking why Ken had not been fired early on. Ken was black and kept screaming discrimination and racism at management. There was another black worker, great employee. HR had been notified of his claim. Under HR's advice to prevent discrimination lawsuits, document more bad acts and poor workmanship. So far, we have received no lawsuits from Ken, and I believe his statute of limitations has expired. Yeah, this guy definitely has that kind of attitude where he thinks the whole world owes him something for being such a great person, without actually having done anything to earn it. This one's called Entitled Brother Steals My Car Over Being Kicked Out. This happened to myself and my husband about a week ago and thought everyone would get a kick out of it. So the backstory is my husband had decided he was going to kick out his entitled brother and his entitled brother's girlfriend because they had gone against the rules of our household and whenever they would borrow our car a few days before everything happened. My husband and I were packing up his entitled brother and girlfriend's stuff when my husband was going through one of their bags and found a tiny baggie with white powder of common sorts, and we had to call the police officer to our place. It was confirmed as something we really didn't need to get in trouble for, and to have the officer properly get rid of. Arrangements were made and the officer had gotten rid of the baggie. Which then my husband definitely decided that his entitled brother and his girlfriend were to be permanently kicked out and to not come back to our place, and completely banned from borrowing our vehicle. Now we're in the present. A few days later, my husband was in the process of getting ready to take our oldest son down to his bus stop, and fully realized that our vehicle wasn't in the parking lot. He waits to put our oldest son on the school bus and immediately calls the police and files a police report and reported our vehicle as stolen. One of the very few text messages the entitled brother had sent was that he went in for a court-ordered drug test but yet doesn't call or knock on our door. I soon realized that our spare key had been stolen from my purse, and we informed entitled brother that the car had been reported stolen. He proceeded to tell my husband that he had left it with the spare key over by the courthouse. I called the cop who was at the courthouse and he informed us that the vehicle was not in the area where the info was given. We'll update when our vehicle is found and other details. We're both planning on pressing charges. And that's all for today, guys. If you enjoyed, drop a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, everyone. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you next time.